And someone asked in the live chat, am I safe? I'm assuming that you watched my live stream that I posted this morning, as well as my short. And I may get into a bit of that here and there. Short answer, no. Realistic answer, never. We're safe. I haven't found it. I have known since the beginning. This is not safe. Not for me. Not for me to be myself. Does that have anything to do with something spooky? Yeah, if you choose to run away from me and choose to misunderstand and choose to make up a whole bunch of bullshit. But what I'm going to share here is going to make sense of the whole thing. The reason why I look up to Jeffrey Green so much, the reason why I can think about one of his stories and burst into tears, which I'm not going to do because it's performative. He is the only person I know who has lived such a life. He's the only person I know who has brought in the level of light. If you make contact, and you can simply meditate and make contact, I suggest it. That's no joke. Meditate on Jeffrey Green. If you don't know him, hey, start to tune into YouTube. There's, people think it's cult-like. Sure, those elements are there because you're dealing with a highly illumined soul. And that's what my talk was specifically on. Pluto is the force of evolution from the very beginning all the way to the end. So despite Pluto taking a lot of shit, Scorpio taking a lot of shit, it's not comfortable, it's not what we want, it was great until it got knocked over. Pluto is fierce grace that is ultimately not allowing ourselves to stagnate in something limiting that's not true to ourselves or our full potential, which is really the truest form of hell, I would say. Souls can do this forever. It is a real possibility. I hope at some point in eternity we learn something, because all of this is happening for a reason, and it is learning. So, the focus of this talk is on one particular phenomenon that occurs for the highly illumined soul. And my talk was on Pluto as a source of pure inspiration, and was, again, honoring Jeffrey Green, who I see, thank you for everything. There have been other such great illumined souls. I actually showed their charts. We could even pull them up here if anybody's interested. I don't know, like Yukteswar, I don't know, like Yogananda, I don't know, like Ramakrishna, I don't know, like Yeshua, if you've heard of him. Yeah, I got all their charts. This stuff is very carefully kept. Obviously, the latter was rectified. But it does check out. It is really mind-blowing stuff. These are very, very evolved souls. Now, in the West, do we even have understanding of any of this stuff? We look to that stuff as being totally crazy. And, sure, I understand why there's reason why it's pretty alien, foreign, weird. Well, what's going on over there? But there is also some fundamental understanding, such as spiritual evolution, that's going to become really, really, really important as I get into where we are, what's going on with humanity, and how we found ourselves in this point of time, which authentically goes beyond concerning for me. Many people don't realize how much more I would have invested in this channel, my community, my healing to serve others. Rasa Lila Healing has an intention. It came from a primary intention, a realization, a revelation. Because I'm being raised scapegoat style, narcissistic family, you repeat it, but this is sort of what forms. So it's like, do I really have the ability to do this? I'm in my early 20s, whatever. But I had this revelation. No, I can, because you can heal others through understanding. I haven't heard a lot of people say that type of thing. You can heal through understanding. Astrology increases your empathy for humanity. Do you think that may be a tool rather valuable that could do a lot of good being put in the right people's hands? There's a lot stacked against it. Let me tell you, because I'm not even going to reference myself as much as my teacher for what it is that he endured that blew my mind to the point of not understanding the severity of it until this year. Because the cover is so different than what goes on underneath. It would shock people. It would shock you to know that one of the biggest globally renowned astrologers who's pushed the books and all this and that, has got the big school, the stuff that comes out, fascinating. So this is what it is that I didn't even know existed because I am not this way myself. I have never felt such jealousy at another person that I wished harm on them. I can't, I really am racking my memory to try to think of, when did I go out of my way, out of jealousy, oh, they got something I don't, so I'm going to issue an attack on them. That shit is fucking bonkers to me, and I don't understand it. I mean, I do, and yeah, you're super childish, but I don't once you're beyond the age of 5, how this is acceptable in any way, shape, or form. So in this particular live stream, I'm focusing on the theme of betrayal, one that's a little close to home for myself. And specifically, I am inviting any and all attendees, which it's probably not a million people because this is another unannounced live stream. So we don't even have 100 folks here. Hopefully more people will file in. What I'm hoping is for some real life stories, some real life examples. And my question for you: how did you experience betrayal, hey Amanda, and how did you handle it? What did you do? What was the process, and what did it make you into? That is kind of the centerpiece of my recent talk, but I obviously went really deep into it. A part of it has to do with spiritual evolution. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with the outpouring of information or whatever it be. So that way it kind of goes to whomever instead of being hidden underneath covers. That can become problematic. With this betrayal, this to me has been the theme of the day. And for those who tuned into where I was this morning, yeah, I was spun out for good reason. Now, the video I put out 2 days ago on Halloween, Samhain, the 31st of October, I mentioned this phenomena, which is now slipping my mind. So awesome, I'll come back to it. Gosh, darn. But certainly I have been talking about protecting ourselves. That is God. How could someone who is truly orienting themselves to good and helping other people just be thwarted to the point of never being able to come out of that? Well, we see that in real life, but we don't see the totality. We don't see what happens after. We don't see the whole of the spiritual world, etc. So now I remember what I talked about that is so important is that we do not fall into the trap that has historically, time and time again, allowed for human beings to enable genocide, real evil, through a form of dehumanization. Do you think betrayal has some elements of that? Dehumanization? And we're going to break down betrayal. But once again, I'm putting out the disclaimer. Whoever wants to share this particular live stream I have set up, and it'd be cool, you know, when we get bigger audiences and whatnot. It's almost like going to be calling in as opposed to having to do the video. I just want to hear audio. I think it'll be less distracting and keep us more focused and coherent. But if anyone wants to come in and share their story of the betrayal they experienced, it doesn't mean that you have to get into all of the gory details. Certainly don't have to air the laundry out using names, any of that. And just understand that it will be published on YouTube, and I'll probably even send you a contract to make sure that that's okay. Obviously, it will be post video, so if you decide no, it will get pulled. What did I also mention in the recent video? Protection. Yeah, you don't have to be betrayed to set yourself up in a certain way where you don't have to go through the worst possible situations. That's how I've oriented for years and years, and it's a little surprising that that doesn't always work out despite not only your best intentions, but pretty much everything else that you're orienting your whole self to. So why is dehumanizing a fundamental aspect in betrayal? And I got some feedback from Instagram too. You also can speak audio. Just let me know if you want to, and there's a way to set that up so you can share your story. I completely forgot what I was going to say again. Oh yeah, dehumanizing. Betrayal requires some of this. Because how are you... Let me rewind. This is one of the reasons why I have such profound respect for Jeffrey. This is the brightest light I've ever encountered. This has changed so many people's lives for the better in ways folks can hardly conceive. We're in the world of astrology that are almost half and half delusional narcissists. This is so opposite. It scares the pants off of people because it's so real. In fact, that's the number one complaint I hear about Jeffrey Green. He's too real. He focuses on the negative. I mentioned this in my last video. Focusing on the negative. What are you talking about? This is resolving the problems of life. Jeffrey Wolf Green. Anybody who knows me gets to hear about my teacher eventually because I am referencing him constantly, and there's reason for that. Sometimes I get, negative comments like, oh, you're putting him on a pedestal, blah, 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 blah. You don't know him. Don't tell me what to do. And my pedestalizing of Jeffrey Green is out of respect, and it's also very realistic. I do not believe he could walk on water, and he never claimed to himself. He's very human. He constantly admitted that. And whenever he founded one of the greatest branches that's not even being recognized right now, it's like, if you want to capitalize on being a brilliant astrologer, hey, we don't have enough evolutionary astrologers. There's kind of reason for that. This person is not focused on numbers. Never. We got some similarity for sure. It's not really a secret. He's not really focused on professionalism, is he? Because what is professionalism and this and that and sticking to corporate time? Do it fast and do it this way, the way we've all been trained to by our corporate jobs. There's corporate astrologers. They know how to really rake it in. They have big websites. Boom, boom, boom. We went to business school, so we can be the best astrologers. Holy crap. Jeffrey Green used to sit in front of an audience with his Joker rolling papers t-shirt. And I swear he did it intentionally. People also with the smoking. He smoked. He did that intentionally to turn off people like you that don't like it. Did you know that? Did you know that? Oftentimes, what provoked Jeffrey Green to pull out a cigarette and start smoking is he felt like the audience was putting him on too much of a pedestal. And if he smoked, what does that bring in? His human element. I'm very similar. And I have to be careful because the New Age has. It really wasn't this. It wasn't there or the same in the 60s. Certainly it was. That was the golden age of cults, right? But the New Age is almost a singularity. It's not these different cults. It is the way to talk, to dress, to relate. There's even a particular tone of voice, and if you start to notice anybody go into that voice, it's a red flag that they're mimicking. No profound teacher, Young, Erickson, Wolf. You can take all of the information, sure, give credit. They're not even super hung up on that because they're not worldly people. That's the problem, actually. What happens is an illuminated teacher comes in. Nobody can handle it. Nobody can hold it the way that the teacher does. So it's very common when such an illumined soul leaves their body is utter chaos that can go very, very bad. It can go really bad. Because the folks who feel entitled to take the car keys are the last people who should ever be handed the car keys. This is Taurus Scorpio stuff like I talked about in my video. Taurus is the financial end of things. Scorpio is the dark stuff that nobody wants to talk about, hence it's taboo. Now, I've addressed this. If you believe thinking on about negative things is going to manifest those things in your life, you're in great danger. You're in great danger because you have no idea what you're doing besides the cotton candy you're focusing on. Real astrology is about getting into the full spectrum. And it is by understanding the full spectrum of people. Not just taking a glance, not just watching a documentary. No, really, hundreds, thousands of charts. You start to understand what a human being is. And you start to develop empathy on a level which most people don't know is even possible. Because I'll tell you what, people have no idea how different we all are. No idea. We think everyone's going to be just like us. And some people enforce that. Beware. Beware of the person who says, be like me. I've been accused as being a cult leader. Ho ho, of course, I'm a man. And aren't I dressed really evil? You know, I get this accusation too. It's called being a man. A friend of mine recently talked about the suppressed feminine in the patriarchy. It's not just women suppressed in the patriarchy. Yes, I think men need to be very accountable and prioritize that, but to say it was a heyday for men, it's not just a little bit wrong. It's total misunderstanding. There's total fear of the pan archetype, projection, fear, every negative experience you've had with a man, you can totally project on whatever seems like a cartoon reflection of, etc., etc. Thank you, I know. I got Venus and Moon in Taurus. Those are the most sensitive inner feminine planets. This is who I am. And I'm not even sharing too many of the secrets here. I've got so many books to write. Can't even tell you. Got so much stuff to put out there. I can't even tell you. And what has prevented me is incessant betrayals. Incessant. It's become a staple in my life to a level that's astounding. Now, there's reasons on my end why, how could this happen in the first place? And a lot of it has to do with trusting the wrong people. I mentioned I was raised in a narcissistic family unit. They were also helicopter. You can't leave. You have to be in this tiny little box. Anyone in the tiny little box, whether they like it so they stay, whether they are being forced to by mom or dad so they stay to get that golden star, or the belief I can't get out of here. I don't have the means, capability. People shoot themselves in the foot all the time with their own gifts, their own God-given gifts. They don't understand that if they actually started to implement those gifts, God would support them, the universe would support them. No, it doesn't mean that you start walking on water. Those guys who think you manifest a perfect life and they're showing off their mansion and all that shit, they are able to do that because they're not spiritual. The really rich people on Instagram showing off their mansion as if positive manifestation is the reason why they accumulated so much senseless material abundance that has clearly no association or interest in helping other people is not spiritual. One tiny molecule. And when I look at the New Age, which you've heard me complain a lot, I mean, it's manifest, it's real, it's dangerous, it's not complaining, therefore it is harm reduction, it is whistleblowing, and I do it like my job. Guess who else also did it like his job? Maybe the guy who wrote the book on Pluto. Now, what he said, the Pluto man himself, is those that have Pluto in planetary aspect to every other planet in their chart is going to live a very intense life because the soul wants to transform and evolve a shitload in one lifetime. And it makes for a very plutonic soul, which is also a part of my talk, the cataclysmic effects that such a soul has. And this has been a part of my recent revelation in this year of revelation. If you're a particular type, you are going to trigger others just by being who you are. That reality does exist. That's why we have to learn water off a duck's back with the wrong people, which I have dealt with plenty. All I've done is try to get away from people, and not only people finding me, because there are plenty of good people I'm talking to every day. Some of the greatest evil I've ever seen, which does not on the wrapping paper look like it, but I don't look at the wrapping paper. So I've been actually freaked out and spun out since this morning. For those who caught that, thank you for, the support I was specifically requesting here was like legal advice and all that. And so I really appreciate those who came full circle. There's actually a number of others that could use the same thing. It's not just me like, oh, I need this help. I'm noticing a few other people in the same situation. Let me give you an example. That illumined soul who's about to leave their body, I am observing multiple of this happening simultaneously. And I can tell you exactly what's happening. Once the illumined soul goes, everything turns into chaos. Then there's various teachers that come out, and they mostly go their own way. But there are people who want to be at the top. They don't want to just go their own way and be the carriers of. So the narcissist, the gatekeeper, the manipulator makes their way all the way to the top. I have been utterly astounded how that's possible. And the only explanation I have is that there is a closeness between those souls. For example, there must be some closeness between Judas and Yeshua for him to get into that position. And this is what I want to talk about in this live stream. That level of betrayal. What I talked about is that happens all the way to the top. The higher stages of spiritual evolution, from what I see, experience it more. Because where great light is begets great darkness. So for example, when Buddha gets born, when Christ gets born, they're born alongside some of the most powerful dark forces in existence. And it's not unintentional. It's a part of the design. So for those of you who may have noticed, in 2025 with Saturn Neptune on the Aries point, which is really insane astrology that says it's all dissolving. Why do you think everyone's freaking out about the end of the world? They wouldn't be that way if they didn't feel like it were happening. So this dissolving is happening. Government, Saturn, jobs, Saturn, what you're doing in the world, your own sense of authority, your own sense of I can build. What with what? With what materials as it all slips away with this Neptune. And it's not just Saturn ruling structures in 3D, which is his main role. Saturn rules all structures, period, including structures of consciousness. So this is indicative of an age shift where there's huge amounts of chaos. There's now a reality war. Some people more progressive, some people more regressive, civil war type of energy, all too common. It happens like clockwork time and time again. It is the mainstream. It is the consensus stage evolution that can't really think for themselves. The critical thinking is not possible for everyone. This has been one of the most painful wake-ups that I've had in recent years. And it's important because that allows for empathy, right? If you're someone who thinks and you can think everyone else can think too, and then suddenly you realize, oh, it's actually more like 3/4 of people make an attempt, but they're actually just going to fake, copy, pretend, and follow whatever authority figure is in their life, whether it be mom, dad, boss, priest, president, etc. That's the consensus. The consensus is the church, Saturn. It's supposed to hold the truth. It's supposed to be aligned with the truth. But what typically happens is a lumen soul leaves and the whole thing turns into chaos and it goes to hell right away. Not in a good way. Almost always. In Yeshua's case, chased out. The truth is buried. Very muffled. The whole thing gets rewritten. And this is the point. The highly illumined souls knows how it is. Can this really be stopped? It's part of my passion. It's why you see my eyes like this while I'm talking all the time. So it's like, oh shit, can we pull this off while I'm trying to fit this language to a tiny little straw to broadcast to you and hopefully you understand some of it? This is real. This is real stuff. And again, a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about is that it's a copped out or copped in choice, and it is not easy. The more people that opt out leave the rest of the spiritual, emotional labor, plus probably a lot more on those who actually are doing the good work, the spiritual work, the work that God wants you to do and you want to do too. Because life is not about not doing work. It's about doing the right work. This doesn't seem like work to me. And that's good because I'm not getting paid unless someone wants to donate. Some people think that YouTube pays me. No, I've been doing this for 12 years as an offering. And I'm not complaining. It's a part of the whole making myself aware and all that. But sometimes people think I live a Hollywood star life, which is really hilarious because of how much the antithesis truly is. The most common experience for others is to show up and think that they need to teach me a lesson because I know too much and I'm a know-it-all. You know what that is? It's a fundamental disrespect of who I am, period. And I trigger people all the fucking time. And what I did not know before is how jealous people can be. I'm going to share something radical here. It blew my mind. But I'm going to communicate it through shadow language. So that way it's not, it's not pointing at anybody, this, that, the other thing. There's a very famous evolutionary astrologer teacher, if not obviously the most famous. And I would always defend Jeffrey Green. Listen, this is the actual pioneer. Do you know how many people stole from Jeffrey Green and never gave him credit because they have this weird-ass jealousy? It's as far mind-blowing as it was in July when I got more information than most people can ever get from a covert narcissist, which was hush, hush, under the breath. I did hate you for your creativity. Jealousy. jealousies, to lead to cruel, to lead to dehumanization. To dehumanize means you got to create labels that takes away their humanity, and you have to forget the good parts. You got to forget all the good that person did in order to justify whatever heinous act it is. And we have had plenty of history, conquistadors, crusaders, colonizers that were all perfect and were literally laughing while they tortured their victims to death, while psychologically torturing them that they're going to go to hell after they are tortured to death. What kind of implications do you think that that level of evil has on the soul? This is the actual significance of what Yeshua means. It means that a soul can be evolved enough to go through that experience and be unfazed, which is the initiation into God at the highest level possible, which is why nobody touches that. Nobody can. Nobody can. We can't assume or inherit powers, money, gifts that we're not ready for. I've seen so many people lose their minds, the most innocent, perfect. Oh, we're fighting for the poor. We're doing the right thing. Oh, I inherited a bunch of money. Well, why aren't you all inheriting a bunch of money, you shitheads? Get yourself together. This ain't a giveaway type of world. No giveaways here. All right, how long am I talking? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I would love to hear if anybody has a story, and I'm looking particularly for betrayal. Why betrayal? I think this is one of the most painful and challenging and maybe even spiritually initiating experiences that a soul can have. I think it's all the way up there with spiritual disillusionment, which you could say is experienced as at least a betrayal from God. Whoa. So this is no joke. And that's why I'm polling the audience. Anyone who wants to share, you can keep yourself anonymous. I don't want to share your face. It's almost like you're calling on over phone. But I'm sure there's a bunch of people that would love to hear your story, so it isn't just all me. I could talk all night. That isn't hard for me to do. So why is this betrayal ultimate? And what I describe this as in the Pluto talk I just gave on pure inspiration. These are the most inspiring souls. They're sparkly, they're attractive, and there's this word we use, cool. What does cool mean? Cool means this is irrelevant to the horrific apocalypse that may be going around. The cool person can handle anything, right? Cool's like a weird, lame word, but isn't that what it's attempting to reference to? Like, whoa. Look at that guy. He's unconquerable. He's untouchable. He survived all of this and came out as this bright, shining, inspiring soul. It is, in fact, the only way to becoming a bright, sparkly, inspiring soul. You can dress up all you want. You can copy and mimic all you want. If you have chosen to stay in a sheltered box because after the 3rd years, we're no longer victim to our prior lives or our parents' conditioning, we get to live more as we will. Not saying it's all necessarily easy, but we can work on ourselves. We can start to address our shadow. We can go into the direction of healing, which is the opposite direction of what we're encouraged to be and do, which is to mask, dress up, get a job, and then your job becomes your escape. It becomes your avoidance. It becomes what you're doing for good, when on a deep level, you probably realize that that job is really more oriented to giving insurance companies more money. I'm not saying everyone needs to be a voodoo, astrology. No, when we do birth chart readings, which I encourage you all to get from me, RossSalilaHealing.com. I didn't put in the video description, it'll come later. RossSalilaCommunity.com houses the astrology school, where you can learn to do astrology and don't even need me to discern it. And the astrology school includes the Q&A once a month, so you can bring in your chart, ask a question. It is awesome. It's one of my favorite days every month. And you can join the Q&A without having to join the school. All right. So I'm going to check here through the chat to see if there's any mind jerking ideas here. Yeah, 13-year relationship. That's the thing, is it's like the more we consolidate, the harder it is to move on. So this is very much where our souls get really trapped. Really trapped. Oh, our egoic comfort, and oh, our soul and God. And that's why Pluto brings us into soul and God. What is one of the most potent initiations to strengthen the relationship between soul and God is to experience betrayal. And why is betrayal so bad? Why is it so destructive both ways? Why is it kind of an ultimate experience in a certain sense? And not everyone's had it. That's why I'm asking, who out there, I know it's not a bajillion people, who out there have experienced some serious betrayal that you're okay with sharing with the group? This will be published, maybe it probably will. I do offer birth chart readings for what I do. Bartering, I can't offer because it becomes problematic. It's usually how it is in the healing work. Bartering, if this is actual psychological fact, bartering, someone feels like they got gypped. It's just how bartering typically goes. Not saying that it has to go that way. It's just kind of often. So someone asked, what is your take on 3 Atlas, the interdimensional thingy that's the largest in recorded history? It's extremely significant. Extremely significant. I don't know what y'all are experiencing. Again, I'd love to hear from you more than just, I love the YouTube comments, but you know how it is. It's a lot of emojis. It's a lot of, I would love for someone to phone in, like how there used to be people who phoned in on the radio so we could talk. That's how I have this particular live stream set up. This is the first one. It's an experiment. We're going to see how it goes. And again, I began this one unannounced. I began this one to ground back into myself because of how unsettled I was from this morning looking into the face of evil. Ultimate betrayal. Ultimate betrayal. I've experienced so much betrayal from the people closest to me that get stuck in pathological dynamics where they have to invent fictional characters. This is the dehumanizing formula in full effect. You have to focus on the negative things in another person. I went through this betrayal with a maternal appearing friend. I went through this betrayal with 2 of my best friends a year ago. I went through this betrayal with my very own mother over the summer. Not that I had too much expectation, but what is it that I could literally, there was a moment where we were both seated side by side on the couch. My father did this too. He's the covert and narcissist. Studying me up and down when I am in chronic pain now, especially a year ago, was really bad because I didn't have any medicine for it yet. Just studying me up and down. I'm in my early 30s. Yes, I'm aging, and I could feel her. Every single thing that's wrong, you villain, you fuck up, all of this. You know what? My parents began to do that shit as soon as I started aging as a kid. These are some of the most pathetic things I've ever experienced. And this morning and what this current thing is, and I hope you enjoyed the mountain background for the last year, because there's only going to be 1 or 2 of those maybe left. The dream is over. The ideal dissipated. My desires exhausted. And that's a part of what this life is about. It doesn't have to be that way, but man, has it been harsh. What kind of betrayal would you like to talk about? Any that you feel is relevant. Talk about the most significant experience of betrayal, and particularly how you overcame it. That's what we want to know here. The reason why betrayal is so hard is it's somebody who knows You can't get betrayed by a stranger, right? You get betrayed by somebody who knows you, knows your truth, knows what you've been for, knows your character, and essentially knows that you're good. And despite all of that, completely drops the ball in such a significant way, I can't even put words to it. It's a ball that gets dropped straight to hell. And I give people warnings before they do it, and they do. It's really interesting. Yogananda said, hey, this devotee is going to betray me, and it was horrible, and he did. Suing, accusations of all these heinous things. I've seen some of my closest beloved souls go through similar processes, framed, projected upon. This is Scorpio Pluto stuff. This is spiritual evolution stuff. This is what's missing from so much new age spiritual. It's great that you're chanting. It's great that you're meditating. It's great that you're doing those spiritual practices. It is essential that you continue to do so. But what is not understood is if you do continue to do so and form an intimate relationship with God, you're going to start knowing God more and more. And it does go to a level that most people can't handle. Everything starts to collapse in on itself. This is what I've been mentioning. This is a dimensional collapse, so polarities get closer together, including good and evil. Am I the first person to talk about this? No. Jeffrey Green did. Do you think it went well for him? Or do you think that a lot of people thought he was crazy because he was actually going there? People say, don't go there. This is a serious thing to watch out for right now, even in the astrology. Pluto in Aquarius can bring superiority complex to the point of genocide because you think you're wiping out an inferior type of person. South Node in Virgo can be total intolerance. They're not clean enough, so they're a failure. We don't consider failures humans. They had their chance to clean their room, and they made it messy. I only tolerate people when their skin's this color. What the fuck? Oh, not sure what happened there, Instagram. I'm looking for comments. Yeah. If you want to share personally, I'm trying to. What can you type in? Type a bunch of the number £. That'll get my attention, and then I can adjust the technology so you can come on this call. Let's see if I can figure out what the fuck's going on with Instagram. Really not that important. Really not that important. All right, sure. We'll see what happens. This is an experiment. This is the first telephone call where, again, this is going to probably be made public, so don't share anything that you are not comfortable sharing public. This is an inspirational live stream, as was the intention of my talk on Pluto. That the most spiritually evolved souls deal this. It goes all the way to the top. Yogananda, betrayed. Jesus, betrayed. It's common. It's not everybody, but this is dealt with in souls of high spiritual evolution, and that's the point. I'm so tired of these New Agers who have a trustafarian, so they believe it's all their karma, that they don't have to work, and their mom and dad sends them checks, and it's their karma because they're a spiritual person, and they're on a mission to save the world, and these are the guys actually leading the retreats. All right, any pound signs? Pound signs means I invite you into a Zoom room where you'll share your voice just like a telephone. It's just like a telephone. And thank you for being here. This is partially to ground me because the stuff I mentioned in my recent video, there would be some hair sliver triggers that can bring up some real deep emotion. I know exactly why. It's terrifying. It's like, are they the same? Because if so, holy shit, that didn't, I mean, I'm terrified for very good reason. If I didn't have the support of my, shamanic friend, I'll drop the link in the chat here, who did a past life regression where I was literally slaughtered, meditating, praying, and a sword goes through my back. About a bunch of swords in my back. All right, so Aaron, by 3 up. I will, oh shoot, okay, it's going to take a second, but I can send you the link if you would like to hop on. This is also going to go to everyone on YouTube. No, I'm just going to send to people specifically. That's how we roll. This is an experiment. What can I do here? Oh, I thought there was a pause. The live stream. I guess not. That's too bad. That would be very useful. All right, this will just take a second. Just getting the link onto my laptop so I can put it out to you on the chat. And thank you for your participation. It takes courage. It takes courage to be vulnerable, especially about these subjects that are very rarely talked about. When I went through all these experiences, I learned that many people don't go through these experiences. That's when I really started to see as clear as day that the people who have gone through the most full spectrum experiences, good, bad, and ugly, are the most qualified to help others, period. So you see souls like Jeffrey Green, born to parents who tried to kill him and then drafted into Vietnam, and it never ended for him. And somehow he maintained writing these books and doing these teachings. It's incredible, but it never stopped. He disappeared for good reason, It really seems unfair. Nobody likes the book of Job. It really is like that at a certain spiritual stage. It really is like that. You go through that final test and you think you get it right away. And then Green says terrifying things like if you commit suicide, you come back to the same life as in challenges multiplied 3 times over. There we go. Someone's doing Ho'oponopono, I can't pronounce method, and mirror work. I really love this when I mentioned the Sufi practices in the black magic live streams where it's like, no, you don't need to repel the shit back to them. We can get so much better. I don't stoop to their level. I don't do the dehumanization. I don't do the forgetting the good qualities. It's not like that. I love this woman who's fucking destroying my life, or at least throwing a wrench in and trying to make it as hard as possible because I deserve it because of her need to protect her reality because I burst it. I mean, I didn't burst it, but it's blue screen of deathing now, which is what I got from my parents and so on and so forth. It's not really uncommon for people like myself. The Jeffrey Greens that then I hear all the time, oh, you don't understand. He was so horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I always ask, what do you know? When did you experience him? Oh, it's hearsay. What a surprise. This is what a witch hunt is. It's absolutely insane to have literal witch hunts in the year 2025. The level of stupidity is absolutely astronomical. It's impressive. I've been truly impressed. Like, wow, good job. I don't think most people could pull this off. This is a serious issue, and man, I had some really serious cases. Okay, I don't want to miss someone had a pound sign, so I am gonna get that to you. And this is going to be an experiment, so forgive me if there's a little bit of technical every single time. But that's also why I'm trying to do this more, to get it smooth. It's going to be so smooth. And if I could live a life where the people around me are supporting me, instead of intentionally sabotaging me, so many other people would benefit. It's really amazing. Narcissists are not safe. Like I heard, not going to put labels out, but really, really bad advice, which is we should have compassion for narcissists first and try to understand, yeah, we do. There's psychologists who specialize in narcissism There are people who have survived narcissistic abuse, families and partners, and no, we're not prioritizing the narcissist in front of narcissistic abuse. None of which we know as a collective. That is literally the manipulation of the narcissist trying to shut everyone the fuck up, which is what they do. Better than anyone could ever imagine. All right, I'm trying to find... Aaron, could you put the pound sign again? Actually, there's going to be a delay. That's the issue. I'm going to get you. Don't you fret. Maybe. Ooh, there's a lot of pound signs on this. Okay, it was pound Aaron by 3 up. Okay, so the chat is super lagging. What the fuck's going on with this? Yeah, the chat's really lagging. Okay, so let's see if I can find another way to get this link out to you. I should be able to respond in this chat, right? Send feedback, okay. Oh god, no, it's to YouTube. Why? Okay, maybe this is it. No, I'm using software to live stream. It's not on YouTube, and for some reason it is. Okay, got you, Aaron. It just came through. All right, never mind. I thought that I could send this link privately, so that way only the folks that want to actually join can join. But you know, I don't think that's a big deal, is it? So let's go ahead and give it a shot, shall we? It's going to take 6 seconds. Oh, so annoying. Okay, there it is. All right, I hope the link came through for everybody. Again, this is an experiment. This is an experiment. I'm going to resume the Zoom now. The reason why I'd love to hear from y'all is this, to me, is like the realest aspects of life, right? This is, to me, what initiates the soul into some of the deepest power, passion, invincibility, because that's what Pluto does. All right, someone's here. Hello, hello. Welcome. You're on Rasa Lila Healing. Are you there? We're doing a telethon now. Give me a second. It's like this. It should be coming through. I'm muted. Yeah, this should be coming through. This should be coming through. I'm not hearing anything. You're muted. I'll ask you to unmute. All right, and there's others too. Anyone who wants to share here?
Hello,
yeah,
hello.
Hello. Let me read just one comment. I'll come back. It's good to be seeing you. Welcome. All right, so similar experiences, like people might go through similar experiences but not recognizing the depth and the complexity. That is what makes all the difference in the world. It isn't the dynamics, which are universal, it's the awareness of them. Without that, we're controlled like a marionette pulled by strings, as opposed to being able to work with the magnets to transform what it is that we're working with. Easier said than done, yeah? So welcome. Let me know your name is, I'm sure I'll mispronounce it otherwise, and would love to hear your share. Thanks for being here. And she immediately disappeared. Okay. Anyone else? It's very weird. I have Chiron in the 11th and Virgo. Deep betrayals from community. Oh yeah. Yep. Are you there, my friend? I heard you and saw you, and then right when it was time, you disappeared. Yes, it's all about self-forgiveness. How we got in these situations in the first place. We're looking for love, right? We're looking for love. I would love to hear some voices. That's because I'm trying to transfer from YouTube chat to something more intimate. Because YouTube chat land is just so distant. Not going on. I'm not sure what's going on with this other person. Do y'all think about this stuff often? Again, I'm wanting to ask questions here, not just talk. All right, we got another one. So Michelle, click this link. Click this link. I'll post it again. That's going to bring you into a Zoom room where you don't need to share your video because. Okay, thank you, Michelle is here. Welcome, Michelle. Great to have you in our live stream. And how are you doing today? As she mutes herself, I'm getting a little confused here. You there, Michelle? Type in the chat if you're speaking.
Hi there. I'm not able to hear you.
Okay. Well, I can hear you. That's because I'm live streaming and let me see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, this isn't causing reverb, so we're good. Welcome, Michelle. It's great to have you. Thank you so much for volunteering.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all your lives. I don't know what to start except to say that I'm resonating very much with what you're sharing. Yeah, basically where I'm at is I had to leave my city where I grew up, where I did community organizing. So I was just, very involved with people. I think there's also a pattern of, some of us just kind of being visible, right out there. And yeah, as of, like 5 years ago, since 2020, basically like my whole life started to collapse with health problems and just different things. And, I'm also a person that is big on self-accountability. So, it was years and years and years of not having the tools to process my trauma and just, different things, right? Like people pleasing, like overextending myself, all of that. So, it was a moment, 2020 was a moment for me of stillness. And I think that's what brought about just a lot of different things trauma, just like spiritual things, probably like an ego death. And related to betrayal, in 2020, I had connected to this community leader. So, LOL. I know you also talk about, just the toxicity like in community leadership. But yeah, so I was connected to this person, who said all the right things about community and identity and justice, and, they're still out there. But check this out because I want to connect this to what you share in your last live, which I think is really important for people to understand that, many of these, what we call like witchcraft practices, which are ancestral, right? And my understanding of it is that some people have used that, against oppression, right? Like using magic against oppression. And I get that. But I also, from my experience that I had with this community leader, who basically started sending hooks, energetic hooks. And, I was going through my process. It started like that. Um, and I still get emotional about it because I've been through so much, from this person. But basically, I can recognize that this person, I don't know, like they just started attacking me, like energetically in different ways. I started getting sick, just like feeling really heavy in my body. I couldn't sleep for months. Like my brain is still recovering from that. They also started spreading rumors in the community about me. So, there's also like that character assassination. And so, yeah, what you know, my piece that I want to share, part of what I want to share with people from my experience of basically experiencing like energetic narcissism is feelings, right? Like this person will energetically like manipulate my feelings. This person basically like learn, and I was vocal about it, right? Like about my traumas and all of that on social media. So in a way, like I didn't know how to protect myself either. But basically this person like studied my insecurities, my traumas, my feelings, and then energetically started to like push that. There's other extreme things that happened. Um, I, yeah, I don't know. Should I like, I don't know if to go more into like the extreme, like energetic things. I don't know if you've heard enough or if you have questions. But yeah, let me know. I'm not able to. I'm not able to hear you, friend. I mean, I can keep going, but I think like I've said a lot. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, of course. Some of the more extreme things that happen to me energetically, um, maybe people can do research online on what happens when you're courted with a person. That person, through that court, at least my experience, my understanding of it, is that they can start sending you entities. So I was courted in the heart with this person. So there's like more extreme things that happen to me. Um, but basically, look, my proof of this, right? Because this has happened like at the energetic and spiritual level. My only physical proof of this is that, they spread rumors about me, right? Like I literally had to exile myself from a community that I had invested in, right? So, I started like just having to leave spaces, um, just the slandering, all of that, right? The betrayal. This is a person that I show up for as a leader. This is a person that I was there when their mother passed away. I was there. This is a person that I bought groceries for because I'm very like community rooted, right? Like that's something that I really, really value. This is a person that I uplifted for, like economic opportunities, right? Like I'm a giver, right? So part of my process, okay, so what happened, right? Like the more extreme things, um, I think the universe is very beautiful in that while I was going through that, I met in my neighborhood this lady who would, like take walks in the morning, and we connected. And she's an energy healer. So energy healing really helped me a lot. Another proof that I have of, what happened to me, I've spent more than $2,000 on trying to recover like my energetic body because of like all the damage done. And I have emails, right, from another person that I work with, saying, yeah, like your aura looks dented. There's like blockages in your chakras, like all of these things, right? So yeah, so it's been a long process. I had to leave that community. I have to leave my city. Like I had to relocate, right? And I'm still, recovering, and sometimes I still like feel their presence. And yeah, what I want to like mention is, people are getting initiated into different practices, spiritual practices, right? And unfortunately, they're abusing, right, in many ways. And you've mentioned this, right, like in the New Age community, right? But I think people, I think you've seen like physical abuse of power, but it's also happening energetically, right? So these people who have access to different like spiritual things. So, this experience, I think, is very like archetypal empath, narcissist, in the sense of I was very unaware of like boundaries. That's something that I'm still learning. So this experience has helped me with like internally, like putting boundaries, right? And externally using my voice to put boundaries. I think that's very important. Many times, it's like I have to say out loud, I reject, XYZ, like whatever attack is coming my way, whatever entity, like I reject that, right? So I think is the alchemical process has been taking my sovereignty back, my autonomy, right? Not trusting in the world, unfortunately, right? Like not being out there and just offering, an offering to people, right? Like we're givers, or, we think like, oh, we're building community or like justice, like whatever we want to call it, right? It's like, no, people's shadows are going to come up. I was, unaware of like my own shadows of, again, of being an empath that is sensitive, but unaware, that is a people pleaser, right? I'm correcting that. So internally, right, like I'm also, like I have a therapist. So internally, I also have to tell myself different things. Like I don't have to do anything to validate, that I'm important as a human being, right? So like no more overgiving, things like that, right? Like I think at the mental level, I had to work that. The energetic level, it's been just energy work. That has helped me a lot. And, this is still not over for me entirely, but you also mentioned spiritual hygiene is very important. Just like, right, like physical hygiene. Like, look, at the end of the day, I'm learning the energetic, the spiritual, right, is going to be a reflection of the physical. And I think sometimes we forget about that. So just like you need your hygiene, right? Like you need to take a shower, you need to, eat healthier, like whatever it is, at the energetic level, in my experience, has been the same, right? So as a person that is sensitive, is like, okay, I have to take like salt baths, right? I have to use like oils. Sometimes I have to cover my head because I'm too sensitive, or like, picking up on stuff. I'm still working on the heart chakra, how to protect it with boundaries. The universe, has helped me, but I won't lie, like what I went through the past 5 years, has been pretty extreme at the energetic level. So yeah, so I'm still in that process. I appreciate that we're talking about this. because yes, like abuse is there, just like physical abuse is there, energetic abuse is out there as well. Um, as far as like entities, prayers have helped. Um, um, plants, right? Like your nature allies, that also helps. Um, yeah, I could, by now I could do like a book, right? Like a horror story on, black magic, not because that's something that I practice, but like everything that has been sent my way. And yeah, I think this is building spiritual fortitude, at the end of the day, because what I went through, and maybe, other like people that have experienced narcissistic abuse or, any type of abuse, like at the end of the day, I feel like this was a push to myself, to being real with myself, to honoring my needs, to like honor my boundaries, like basically protect my inner home. That's what I would say. um so yeah yeah, I appreciate the space, really, and your work.
Oh God, I'm okay. You can hear me now. Sorry about that, people. There's a lot of technical to this program. I'm still learning, but I'm getting it. These issues won't repeat here in the future. Okay, so I'm going to post the URL again because it seems like some people want to share. I'm going to say some stuff in between. God, I really wish that sometimes YouTube didn't have links that were paragraphs. So, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to post a paragraph. Whatever. There's the link. So, betrayal someone who's close. Betrayal someone who's known you for a long time. Betrayal is someone who's seen you go through so many things. Oh, that's not working either. We'll get it. This is why it is so severe. This is why it's a graduate's course. This is why some of the most spiritual souls that exist are dealing with these initiations. What happens when you lose someone who's super close to you and they betray you? Because, of course, that's a loss. It strengthens the connection between soul and God. Easier said than done. Luxurious sounding, totally different experience to go through in real life. Highly spiritual souls get pretty much all the way alone because they're not understood by others. Sure, we can operate, show up, do our magic, do our readings, be in the world, but are we understood even remotely? No. There is such a lack of understanding the diversity of different humans. So there's different types of humans, and then there's evolutionary stages. So depending on how aware you are of the cards you've had dealt makes all the difference in the world. Don't run away from your own pathologies, phobias, scary parts the same way you don't run away from those things when there is a scent of that in the world. It's like let's resolve this stuff. Let's resolve this stuff. I'm in a process of resolving this stuff myself. And I'm honestly going to say anyone who's a friend or support, I would really appreciate you, being there in whatever way for this next month, because these can be some very, very challenging times, even for the most evolved souls. That's not what my whole talk was about, by the way. It gets into some really far out, the other end of things. But this is the challenge. This is such a Scorpio Pluto thing. How many of you have Venus in Scorpio? Polling the group, and it's going to be delayed. How many people have Venus in Scorpio? Put yes, Venus in Scorpio. And then how many of you with Venus in Scorpio have had an experience of betrayment? It's typically Venus in Scorpio people who can be very to themselves and sometimes untrusting, is for very good reason. This is why when we learn more and more about what astrology and the birth chart is, it increases our empathy. This most infamous, that which we shall not say, the name that basically means devil or evil now, is narcissist. We can have empathy for the narcissist. It's created to protect the soul in a certain sense. It doesn't end up working well, and we do need to protect everybody else as a priority, because that's just the nature of the psychological phenomenon itself. The shadow isn't inherently wrong. It's how we handle the shadow. Everyone's got a shadow. We got to learn how to utilize it in the way that's actually in service to the rest of us and others. That's like lassoing a wild stallion, right? It takes tremendous time. As a result, you don't lose your soul. Because if you're just following orders, getting absorbed into this super fucked up culture, listening to mom and dad who have been checked out for decades and decades and watch Fox News all day, you're going to lose your soul. It's not a joke. If that's your entourage, if that's your partner, if that's your environment and the only thing you're surrounded by at all times, you're in danger. Environment is everything. Land is everything. The ownership is everything. The people is everything. And there ain't nothing more scary than people. There's no evil that goes on in this world without people involved. And it's only people that are really into this betrayal thing, which I described in my talk as ding-dong ditching God. Think about it. These people are hanging out with the most illumined souls in the world that most of us would die to be in their position. They're right there. And that's when they chintz out and sell God for a bag of gold or whatever it was. Of course you get that choice. Everyone gets free will to choose this or that. But can you imagine being that close to God? That you ding-dong ditch and then take off. I have the feeling that doesn't really result well, because that is a choice. You've known, you've seen this person's heart, love, dedication, and chintzed out. You're ready to dehumanize somebody for a bag of gold. Can any of you think of any real-world examples of where this could potentially be occurring? I'm going to put the link once more. Thanks for your share, Michelle. Anyone else who would like to share? Oh, that's not the right link, god damn it. How do we get this? Here we go. Wrong link, sorry. This link. Share it. Oh my god, They keep updating things and you don't know what's going on. Okay, we're good. So again, anyone who wants to come in and share where they had a profound experience of betrayal, how they coped with it, and how they overcame it. Because this, to me, is one of the most significant things that happens. And despite it being the most challenging thing ever. Because if you're dealing with someone like a narcissist, the smear campaigning, the flying monkeys, the sabotage on your life is nearly complete. So you can only imagine what it's like to trigger a multitude of narcissists. The level of protection is very serious. And that's why we don't have empathy or compassion for the narcissist until after taking care of everybody else first. It's really important. And the codependents, I have to say, are not better. I think they're worse. The betrayal that comes from someone that over the course of a decade saw what you went through, your strife, your heart, your giving, how generous you are, how challenging it has been, all of the health problems, and then you're going to sell that person out because they said something a little bit too sharp and probably totally true via text message. And so the best thing that you can do is start a smear campaign to take that whole person down. Take everything I've done down. Because mommy's a narcissist and you get a fake golden star. How do you think that ends? How do you think that ends? I don't know. It's very foreign from what I understand. I don't know what it's like to literally have no ability to think. So this person's God. They always make the law. I've never understood that. That's why I became the scapegoat to my father. I've never felt jealous of someone to the point of wanting to cause harm to them. Never. It's just, how is that even a rational response? To me, it's like jealousy is informing you of where you want to go. So just acknowledge that. And the best way to get there, therefore, is to befriend that person, not murder them. We're not all the same. That's been the revelation of 2025. We're not all the same. And I didn't realize how low people go. I will not go as low as what I was still dealing with this morning. Which, if you heard the drama of the literal witch hunt, being told, that's what you get. That's what I get for what? They're 100% fiction and narrative. That was a betrayal because this person knows so much about me and then they're deciding to create a complete fantasy fiction narrative to what? Effectively dehumanize me. Forget all of the good I ever did for this person. All of it. It's impressive. It's really impressive. There's nobody home. If you're in close proximity to a narcissist and you think it's okay, you have to be so aware. So aware. It can be okay. You both have to be so aware. I've seen this occur 0% of the time. With the exception of the man who basically pioneered narcissism, and he's an extraordinary exception. But he is proof of what great awareness does. It changes everything. I don't think anyone really, that's not true. There's sadists out there, but most people don't want to be causing harm to another person. And that's what black magic essentially is. It's just simply causing harm to another person. And if people think they aren't doing that all the time in their mind and in their actions, yeah, a lot worse shit happens than that. People pull out guns. People fight one another. People convince whole nations that genocide is perfectly okay. That level of dehumanization. Instead of those who are familiar with dehumanization mapping out the formula to prevent it, you apply the same formula that tortured and oppressed you onto others. Because apparently we're still in the eye for an eye age, but nobody's got eyeballs anymore. So what are we doing? If it's that low, it won't last long. Yeah, this is a thing. It's a really creepy thing. Whenever there is such offering of a soul to a narcissist, could be a codependent, could be a cowardly crew. I'm doing the good things, so we're going to report this guy, and then it creates a bonding through a shared enemy, which is a really powerful bond to have a shared enemy. Could that possibly be manipulative? This level of manipulation is really impressive. I'm like, whoa, this person's a master. No wonder there's a dozen at least flying monkeys all around. Of course, makes total sense. But the monitoring, the piece by piece, I am not safe and I'm not in a good place. People tell me, okay, leave. Yeah, I am, but yeah, it's not as easy as you think, and that's the point. People who have been living happily in their home their whole life and never experienced anything outside of it, you don't understand what it's like. My grandfather's like, why don't you buy a mansion or like a house during one of the biggest housing crises where you had to be a millionaire to buy a house? Why don't you just buy a house like I did? Do you even want to know what it's like to be someone else? These people don't. They are so much more invested in forcing you into becoming identical to you before taking 2 seconds to know who you are. It's creepy shit. My son's father passed in 2021. I was living above his mom at the time. It became all about the money craze. Yeah, that's this Taurus opposite to Scorpio. This happens. That was the last video. Yep. Power dynamics, children. Oh my gosh, that's the worst. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to explain this stuff. You know exactly what I mean. If you want to rope someone, if you want to make someone a slave, there's all sorts of ways to do that. Okay, folks, I'm going to post once more in the chat. We've had one person, and I know this is spontaneous, but I know that there's wise souls in this live stream. And I'll see how many people are here. We've got 7 people on Instagram, which is typically below 10, and just 84 people here. It's not a big group. Any questions for me? Any of this stuff? I've been really, really focusing on very particular stuff. I put like 7, 8, 9 videos in between the last forecast and this one. Really important stuff. Do you think that benefited my channel, by the way? It's fucking crazy and annoying. What I said is there is a generational divide, and understanding the psychological phenomena, which I'm telling you, which is serious, and people are not taking it seriously, is the divide. Pluto Scorpios are kind of the first because we're forced to deal with it because we inherit the cesspool and are told, that's a wonderful water park. You're so lucky. Why are you complaining, you jerk? I'm always doing personal readings, rossalilahealing.com. I'll post that link too, but yeah, I'm always available for readings. But how about you? Anybody got a reading for us? Because everybody sharing their story is healing, not only hopefully for you, but for others. Yeah, you can donate right through the live chat. Thanks for those who have. That ends up being my YouTube payment of the $5, $10 that's donated. Remove the credence which you allow the neighbor beef. Yeah, I guess you're saying ignore them, and it's not like I ever wasn't doing that to begin with. All right, Instagram, you got anything for me? The 6E here, good to have you.
We got some good stuff. One of many communities I was betrayed in. Spiritual community. Who could imagine that? In a spiritual community? In which I was drugged. Yay! The medicine man, oh, yay, said that I imagined it because of PTSD. Wow, get the fuck out of there. The stuff of villains and movies goes on in New Age retreats, and people think I'm complaining about it. Give me a break. Became a lawsuit. I might even know who you're talking about if you're in Florida, but then there's probably bajillions of these same people. Okay, someone wants to chat. So, Aaron, if you hit this link, it's going to take you into a Zoom room where you will be able to call like a telephone. I'm doing that intentionally. It's an experience. It's our first time doing it, but I have the feeling that this type of dynamic will work better than trying to get everybody's camera, and it gets distracting. And there's going to be more interview style in the near future. I'm also going to have to move again for the 6th or 7th time in the last 6 years. How many of you moved this amount? How many of you, I got some questions. How many of you have moved twice in 1 year? Just say it. How many of you 3 times in a year? Just say it. How many of you have moved 4 times in 1 year? Just say it. It's just curiosity. These are experiences. If you haven't been going through them, it's people really don't get it. It's like death. It's like funerals, you know? The friends are the people telling this person, shut the fuck up about bringing your negative emotions into this group because your daughter just died. This guy, when are we going to do the grief circle? When are we going to do the grief circle? When are we going to do this ceremony? When are we going to do this ceremony? When am I going to do this fundraiser for you? I want to raise you $10,000. When are you going to get that massage that I bought for you? That was $200 just flushed down the drain and you're not giving anything to yourself. When can we get a bunch of people over here to help you clean through your shit? That's who I am. In my face, laughing at me this morning, you know you did this to yourself, you know, became an evil person, and now we're going to treat you that way. Evil and stupidity yields the same result, but this isn't just stupid. This is someone who gave their soul to someone who's not God. Guess what happens if you give your soul to someone who's not God? It isn't even loving. It's not loving. The whole Christian sacrifice, give your heart to one person, is a deflation of 2 souls into an implosion of nothing. Be yourself. Help one another. Don't merge. Merging is narcissism. They can only copy. They can only mimic. They cannot create. They cannot be individuals. Okay, that was the wrong link. My apologies. Ha 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 ho 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 ha ha ha. Gosh darn it. 1 second. 1 second. I have one Zoom room. It's not that hard. Okay, here's the URL. This will get smoother, I promise. Okay, here comes the link. Drum roll. Yeah, there it is. And it is, I really appreciate the interaction. You know, I don't like just being a talking head. I hope this stuff is relatable. I hope that this stuff is helpful. And thank you. You know, I did that presentation. My good friend Kristen Fontana, who's one of Jeffrey's close students, she's like, wow, you seem completely different. And I'm like, yeah, I like totally leveled up because of this witch hunt. That was the result. All right, we got someone here. So it doesn't just have to be my voice. Welcome, welcome. Yay. Thank you for joining us.
Yay.
Now
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're coming through clearly, so I'm going to make the adjustment so that way you got the mic. We got
Okay.
two people here, so it might be one after the next, but feel free to take it away. We're interested to know you don't have to reveal everything, but how do we move through one of the more challenging aspects of life, which is betrayal? Someone close to us choosing to make up a story and harm us.
Okay, so I'm a little confused in coming into this, but I am taking full steps in. So I am actually explaining the betrayal I have between my mother and I. My mom, I'm a double amputee. I lost both of my legs in a car accident when I was 16. Um, my mother took over pretty much my well-being up until I was 18, of course. I had a major lawsuit going on with the county and the city due to discrepancies in the roadway. But my mom, she betrayed me by pretending to everybody that everything is all about me and my life and making me better and setting me up with a house and a home. And we are fighting this lawsuit together. Can you hear me? Hello?
You got it.
Okay. Sorry, I was entering into maybe a bad spot. My mom was more along the lines trying to use me for her gain. And this is hard for me to explain because, yes, my mom and I are on somewhat good terms now, but that's because I feel like I am facing my shadows and trying to face my mother head on when it comes to love and going back through everything we went through. But she betrayed me with, she's my mom. All I wanted was love and hugs, and she used my accident for her advantage. It gave her free housing. We fought a lawsuit very hard. It took over my entire life from the time I was 16 years old until I was 30 years old. And the little money I did get from, I think it was Porsche, because I was in a Porsche 911 convertible Carrera, sitting passenger. My boyfriend at the time was driving, speeding. We slid and hit a light pole after we hit a car, and the light pole came over crashing down on top of me and the boy sitting behind me. It crushed him. He's gone, and I lost my legs at impact. The lawsuit took so long because of all the parties fighting for who was in trouble or whatnot, but up until the very point of my mom realizing she wasn't going to get any money, because the only money I did win bought me my vehicle I still have today and $50,000. And then she came at me with a civil lawsuit as I was living with her, that I needed to pay back every bit of rent I have ever paid, or that I've ever not paid, that I had been living with her rent free for, I don't know, however many years, because it had been many years sporadically, not all in a row. Sometimes I was living with her for a year or two. Sometimes I wasn't. And in the middle of, you have to understand that I wasn't just living scot-free. This was my credit that was on the line. It was my name under all of the appliance, everything, right? So my mom made it seem like, I'm taking care of you and you're helping me. But in the end, it was, you owe me. And I'm still here to this day, owing my mom in ways that I can't even pay with money. The civil lawsuit she tried to file against me was for like $26,000, and that had to do with rent, money I had borrowed. I mean, she saved everything, every receipt, everything from the time it all started. I had no idea that she was going to do something like that to me.
Was there a death involved? I think you might have said, but just to reiterate that, because people go nuts when someone dies.
Yes, the boy sitting behind me was killed in the accident. Now, are you saying, was there a death with my mom, or was it just me? Because
In
for my
general.
mom, it was more of a symbolic death. The death of the daughter she wished I was going to be died. When somebody loses their legs in a car accident, I 100% feel and felt I'm changing now, that the person I was once did die. And I'm not the same person. My mom dealt with that as if I did die, because I wasn't the same person she imagined me to be. My mom tried to put me in modeling. She tried to put me in all of this stuff that was going to get her further in life. And my husband, he's in the other room taking care of the babies while I'm doing this. We were in high school together. Later in life, we became intimate with each other, but he has seen it all. He has seen the relationship with my mom and what I have dealt with, and now my mom. I moved from California. I had a baby in 2020. She was my saving grace. I I didn't get into the whole story, but you know what? Through everything, I was addicted to drugs. I got on pain pills. I was living in hell, literal hell. I was being spiritually attacked. I I was going through quite a bit in my life. My Aunt Carla, she came and took me away from the situation I was being attacked in, with my mom and other things. And my Aunt Carla came and swooped me away. And my Aunt Carla was my mom's sister, my mom's youngest sister. So her and I are closer in age than my mom and her. So she's like my biggest sister because I'm the youngest of two older brothers.
So we're
She
interested to
came
know
in under her
here,
wing. Go ahead.
what helped you get through this experience, and what did you find was on the other side of it? Not to cut short your story, but it so easily becomes story time. That's like the number one most human thing to do, which is not
Thank
your
you.
fault. But we need so many spaces just to tell stories. Let me tell you. But
Yeah.
that's what we do once a month. But not to cut you short, but what helped you deal with this? Because this is a very serious betrayal. And I know what you mean because my mother did crazy shit this last year.
And
It's not
Timothy,
okay.
my mom is a Cancer.
That don't matter.
I'm just saying, very manipulative tactic here.
For sure.
What I did in order to get out of this was actually, um, I, I turned into a hermit. I trusted nobody but myself. I went back to my instincts as listening to that true voice inside. I think that's the only thing that got me through. Because not only was it betrayal of my mom, it was betrayal of my family. At the time, everybody turned against me. I had people in my family telling me that the right thing to do was to pay my mom all of this money because she has taken care of me all this time. But um, that money was supposed to be there for me to set up for me in life, right? It was supposed to go in a trust and I was supposed to blah, blah, blah.
Backwards.
No, I get it. But listen, what I took out of that was the absolute betrayal. I moved forward with myself. I didn't rely on anybody. You can't rely on anybody. So it was my higher power. I knew there was God and he was guiding me through it all. And I kept allowing the physical realm to keep me busy. Social media. And what I mean by social media is doom scrolling, right? It's that blue screen shit you talk about. That's not what this social media thing we're doing, this is not social media. And I know you know that, but it was being alone, secluding myself, and going back to that voice, that light inside. And then it led me in this path where I am now, where I'm in communication with like these with I'm in communication with people. It took a long time for me to trust people again. And especially because the people who I held, who were the closest to me, betrayed me. So um, it took a long time for me to trust anybody. But, I trust everybody until they give me a chance not to. And unfortunately, I think that's very common, that we just don't trust anybody anymore. And I hope I'm able to give.
Natural result of life. I thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's
Thank
exactly what I think we need to hear more of. We don't have enough sharing of real life, enforcing this toxic positivity that you're supposed to follow in line, and then everything works out for you. And if you don't follow in line, you're ostracized. And that's called oppression. That's called a one-size-fits-all. And I guarantee you, in any dynamic that becomes like that, there's a narcissist involved. That's how they operate. So yeah, this is becoming an increasing problem because of where we stand in time. We need to speak up for, respect, and protect the abusers first.
What do you mean
Narcissists
by
can
that?
have their own
The
club.
abusers.
Psychologically speaking, there's a new phenomenon starting to occur. It may not be relevant to you, so I'll say it quick. There's a new phenomenon on YouTube where there are people claiming to be self-aware narcissists, and they're narcissists. It's problematic. They're basically defending themselves, their lives, and end up defending lack of empathy. And it's like, you can't start a YouTube channel and spread those messages that are really not helping people. If you want to create a website for self-aware narcissists to support one another, that's what I would recommend. Makes sense, right?
It makes sense.
What else can we do?
It does. And if somebody could do that, I wish they could.
I think it's coming pretty soon. This is a crazy fast-paced future, and it has a lot to do with our understanding of what is a human. That's going to be Uranus through Gemini. Thank you so much for your share. Remind me your name, because you're Zoom user to me.
Okay, so I am Avi Marie.
Unless you don't want to, of course.
Oh, I don't mind at all. I'm Avi Marie. I'm also Amanda Labs on YouTube.
That's right.
So
You're Amanda.
I'm running with both names.
We've been texting. Thank you so much. You've been a huge support today, and thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me.
You bet.
I hope you have a good night, Timothy, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. This is helping me to ground. I was like, it's really hard to think about where you're going to move and plan everything pragmatically when things are good. When people decide to add all this evil shit, that's exactly what it is. It's evil. So we've got an Aaron here, and if Aaron would like to share, we'd love to hear from you too. Of course, no pressure.
Hello, Timothy. How are you?
Good to have you.
Hanging
in there.
Oh God! Hey, what a day, man!
No
even
joke.
your story was just like, oh my God. I wonder about the imprinting of a narcissist when they come onto this earth, and how they learn how to get need met, and the fucked up wiring they are ingrained with. And
it's a coping mechanism to trauma, which is essentially a split personality because the wound is too big to be processed. So it's literally avoided throughout life. And that's why it's so dangerous.
And I'm listening to Eva Marie's story, and I just, Mom made that about her. That whole thing. Just so tragic.
Who is that?
Eve Marie, the late gal that was just on, it sounded like her mother just made that whole thing about her, just that narcissism piece about her.
That's how they operate, to a level that's mind-blowing that someone could be that childish. Yep, it's astounding, which is also a huge manipulation tactic that narcissists use is, oh, woe is me, and I'm a wounded child, and maternal types get drawn in.
Well, I was just thinking about the betrayal piece, and I've had some life, so I've through menopause, so I'm like, my lady balls have dropped, and I find it so much easier to look it in the eye when I'm challenged. I can stare right back now, and it feels empowering, but I see it and I look at it right in the eye. And I stay in my power. It's really strange. I think it's maybe less estrogen. I don't know.
I'm not quite there. I'm getting there. This was a masterful experience because this morning I went to go throw out my garbage, conflict, and whatever, and get in person. You know that you did this, right? And you don't say anything to people that are that pathetic. Right. Instead, I listed off all the things that I did to her while they laughed at me, and it's a power grab. So yeah, not good to go about things that way, and good for you.
Well, I'm just feeling for you, Timothy, and I wish there was something I could do. That's all.
Thank you. There's a lot of people who feel for me because they've gone through the experience. And it is bringing really cool people together. I do have some support. I'll also just voice anyone who's like into law, has a friend who's into law, knows a good source for suggestion that's not like nclaw.com, someone specific. That's very helpful to me if it's, again, just related to this stuff. I obviously know nothing. I have been through witch hunts before. I have had whole cults manipulated to go against me. I know just what it's like, exactly what it feels like, and I know where I am. It's such a disrespect to my soul. This narcissist basically studied me to find my weaknesses and then attacked them. What is that? What is that?
It's master evil. I don't know how it is in this. I don't know what it is in the States because I don't live in the States, but restraining or like something, a paper trail. Well, you've got a YouTube trail, right? But like a restraining order, I don't know. You can just go to the court and get that, or what? How's it work there? Maybe.
There's been stuff, so I have protection, but I just want to be out of the cursed land that I had nothing to do with cursing.
Good.
The suicide that there's a lot of speculation about because it's very sketchy. Why would you rip up the carpet and cover up all this stuff before the police show up, and then there's no what you're supposed to do when someone died? So yeah, that's why I don't get the cops involved. This is how it is in certain places. People don't always understand that because it's way better other places, honestly. I loved having a mountain for a backyard until I realized this isn't worth it at all.
There's mountains all over the earth.
Exactly. And they've got all their own personalities. And you know what? Land attracts a particular type of person. And the longer you stay in a particular place, you merge with that personality. Has anybody noticed that?
Yeah.
It's one of those things you kind of can't unsee once you really start to look at it. This is why place is really important. And I found this generally to be a deceptive place. It looks like a card, you know, a Hallmark card, and there's a lot beneath the surface, isn't there?
Looks are
Like
deceiving,
in
man.
the whole country, yeah.
Looks are very deceiving. And so the pull to be there and the work you've done on a spiritual level sounds like it's complete.
Thank you. And I agree. It's truly feels that way.
Mm. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for helping me get on chat. I know Zoom.
Thank you for joining us. It's been great to hear your voice, Aaron, and wishing you the best.
You
These
too,
are some
thank
bumpy
you.
times, so I really appreciate
Thank you
people
for
coming
sharing.
here.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're just at the 2 hour mark. So I'm going to make sure that I read what I can from the live stream. I don't want anyone to feel left out. And if you would like to talk and share how it is that you overcame your betrayals, which is some of the hardest experience that a human can go through, because it's basically when a soul chooses to ditch out on everything. And, you know, with Yogananda, for example, he said 10 years early, we got Marie coming in. He said 10 years early, you know, this person's going to manipulate me because they did it before. And then that took place. It's just a part of the Earth School experience, and we do kind of therefore need each other. I talked about the petty tyrant in my talk. The Toltec belief, these were the Mayans getting taken over by conquistadors, is you need a petty tyrant who's basically oppressing you. So that way you can get into more advanced heart spiritual evolution, which is not easy.
Hallelujah.
Betrayal is on a different level than even that. Yeah.
It's the friction that creates the ability to see it.
Right. Contrast. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And full spectrum experience. Very true.
Coming in and out of washing kids with a bath, so not sure if I missed anything.
We had a couple people come in. Marie was first, so I will tune to her. She's already got her mic unmuted. Hey, Marie, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet, like I said, because dealing with a narcissist, how I came out on the other side of it, it was extremely life-changing and very traumatic. I mean, I had a hard time sleeping, eating, all that stuff. I couldn't sleep, or I had bad dreams, because I had so much on my mind and everything that was going on. But I just basically sat back, paid attention to who my true blues were, and I saw that there wasn't a lot for a community that I was in for 8 years and participated in the art of that community. The narcissist in particular that I dealt with, they basically pretty much latched on to me from the get-go when they came to town. And I was super supportive. It was a supportive environment, and I gave all that I could because I saw potential. Like, that's the thing. You will see
That's
potential.
the
And
danger. That is a
yeah,
manipulative tactic.
yeah,
It's almost like a supernatural superpower. Yeah,
yeah, they're
it's
very
very much
charming,
used.
very charming, very likable people. So you take them under your wing and you show them the ropes and you support them endlessly. But then when the time came 8 years later, um, yeah, it was pretty hijacked. Like, when I decided to make the split, and yeah, I did have a child involved. But Yeah, it was completely hijacked. And basically, the child was used as like a control mechanism to create more harm to me. And they were the parent of that child. So, I was like in full protection mode. But the justice system is not always justice. I have been completely let down by that, and people that I loved and said, "Oh, I've got your back, sister," blah 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 blah. But no, they didn't have my back. And honestly, if that's how you got my back, please stay away from it, because yeah, I just sat back and watched. It was painful to watch, but in the end, they enabled they turned a blind eye to all the red flags. And now that individual is not even a part of that community. They burned so many bridges, and unfortunately, I know addiction is a disease. Okay, I am empathetic to that. I've had plenty of people that I've loved throughout the ages of my life journey um fall into addiction, and they were not bad people, but it does change people. It changes their brain, it changes their soul. And you just really have to pay attention and see who your true blues are, because you have to learn how to fly on your own. um it's not always going to be strong and beautiful flight. It's going to be turbulent, but you have to learn to rely on yourself and your own intuition and believe in your knowledge within. And that's pretty much it. You cannot turn a blind eye to what you are seeing take place. You have to take it in, no matter how painful it is, and just move forward from there. And the best revenge is success. That doesn't mean hoarding a bunch of money and being like a billionaire. It has nothing to do with that. It means living a good life, a safe
It's
life,
freedom.
and freedom and peace. That's what it means. And some kind of remain centered, because narcissists will try to pull you out of your center. They will try to trigger you, and you just have to get to a point where you're like, I see what's happening, and you are not gonna take me to the levels and depths that you're trying to take me to. You're not gonna do it. And you have to just pull yourself back in time and time again. Time and time again. It doesn't matter how many times you got to do it. You're not always going to do it perfectly, but you have to reconvene. So that's pretty much all I got. I hope that was good enough.
It's very real. Thank you so much for your share. Really,
Yeah.
really beautiful information. I
Right.
love that we're getting some of the personal stories here, because this is all very relatable stuff. And in the chat, Stephanie shared, it is quite remarkable to see how some narcissistic people use triangulation. This is a word, just like gaslighting, I think everyone should know, so you can quickly identify it as one of the narcissist's manipulative tactics. This whole witch hunt resulted from triangulation. I had a text message with the guardian of the estate that was harsh and pointed, because I was seeing through her lies that she was never going to own up to. And so she brought in her mommy, and literally it was like, Mom, Timothy's giving me the evil eye. And then they declared war on me. That is
They
a
will do
level
it.
of pathetic. That's a
It is a
pathetic.
gang up.
It's a coward. It is a level of coward that's is hard to fathom. And so this is a point in and of itself. How does Judas sell out Christ for a bag of gold? How does someone challenge Yogananda as if you were the same and try to act the same? This happens all the fucking time. It's going to continue to happen. Just watch for it. That's what I talked about.
Because they will not
Tarkir.
look into their own soul. It is too painful, and they will disassociate every freaking time. And they will always look outward to people that they can suck the life force out of. I really believe that to be true. Right, wrong, or indifferent, you have to be very mindful and pay close attention, because they will sap every
It
single bit of
is
energy out of you and
particularly,
people
these are
around you.
extreme examples, But the Judases and the people who actually betray an illumined soul, how is that possible? These are the most fearful souls in existence.
Yeah,
And
and
I
people
think that's
thrive on
why
fear.
the illumined master is able to forgive them. They understand that. These are the most
Yeah.
fearful souls in existence. They get to God's door and ding dong ditch.
Well, and you can always wish for them and pray for them to come full circle and learn at some point and come to terms with their own grief. But, you know, that is an extremely difficult thing to do as an individual. But
It's
not
not a
everybody's going to make it
responsibility.
there. Yeah, it's not our responsibility. We cannot save them. We can save ourselves and plant our seeds, like you had said in many past videos. All you can do is plant seeds and like work from the inside out. That's all you can do. And whatever's going to take place is going to take place. We have no control over that. All you can do is pray and wish the best and hope at some point some kind of miraculous thing will take place and take hold of them to where they will see the error of their ways. But you will burn yourself to the ground trying. And you are not going to serve anybody anything
Do
by
not
doing
try to
that.
help or save.
You can't, because you cannot do it. Thank you so much for all that you do.
You betcha. I wouldn't be in this situation if there wasn't so much deceiving, and if I had known the dynamics, I would not be trying to help. Because some folks, you gotta just accept that, you know, they make their own choices. So
Yeah,
we're
you'll
all
get
learning.
better at it. You'll get better
We're
at it.
learning. We can't change people's destiny. Although I read people's souls and try to give them, hey, this might be some useful advice. Thank you so much, Marie.
Hey,
Really,
thank
truly.
you. Much respect.
Right back to you. And someone else came into the room. I'm not sure who, but you're welcome to unmute your mic and go ahead and introduce yourself. There might be a couple people, so whomever wants to go first. We've got Aaron, MYR, and Brooke. People are always so bad at the aggressiveness of choosing yourself first. Okay, MYR has raised their hand. Thank you. That's awesome. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey, Timothy, am I on? Can you hear me?
You are indeed.
Oh, how are you? How are you? Well, first of all, just well wishes to you. And I think it's great what you're doing, because I think that this is one of the solutions, is for people who have been kind of dealing with these things in their own personal lives to actually be able to come and share these experiences and these stories with one another. Because I don't know, for some strange reason, something I've observed for a long time is that, I notice that good people who, truly empaths, right? People who are highly sensitive don't want to step on one another's toes, but I think that that's where a lot of sort of missed connections and missed opportunities occur.
We kind
It
of
seems
need
like,
what the others got, right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is how we establish, a sort of a new culture, a new society, a new world in that, people who actually are oriented to find and create solutions for all the troubles that are ailing us can actually come together, because we don't really have, I guess, in some ways, the infrastructure for that or the framework for that, right? So we have to actually build it, and this is part of the process. Um,
It is,
so
and it's what I've been trying to do, and that has
I
been
see
a
that.
mind-blowing experience because of
Yeah,
how few people are truly invested in that with their heart.
Yeah, I see that. I see that clear as day. And to be honest, you're one of the few people. I don't listen to too many people these days myself because, it's, similar to a couple of the other people who have called in. At a certain point, I just accepted that I have to remove myself and sort of insulate and incubate myself for my own kind of process of coming back to a place of empowerment and sort of real clarity and centeredness before I can participate on a larger scale. But one of the people that I have continued to tune into, when it feels right, and this being one of those times is you, because it's so clear as day to me that is where you're coming from, and I really do appreciate that. So I'm glad that to hear and to see that there's other people giving you that feedback, because I think it is extremely valuable. Just the fact that you do wear your heart on your sleeve, and that you do, I mean, for anyone with, how do I put this? I think it's pretty uh, clear to see that you're a loving, kind, generous, well-intending person, and it really is unfortunate that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, because, typically empaths, that's, I think that's what anyone who is connected to their soul wants, is for others to feel that as well, for others to fulfill that kind of divine potential, that godliness in them, and so anyways, I feel like that is what you're aiming at, and it's very much appreciated for sure. And as far as the betrayals, like, yeah, I relate on so many levels. I don't even know where to begin, but I can tell you this: I'm a Pluto Libra generation, and I was born to Pluto Leo generation parents, and I really do empathize with the Pluto Scorpio generation, because things that I have seen and tried to navigate and tried to warn, my own circles about. I've seen how Pluto and Scorpio generation has really had to take the brunt of it, because, the world was still too kind of comfortable of a place in some ways for people, up until sort of Pluto Scorpio kind of started to mature, let's say. And I see that the way that society has just continued to kind of devolve has, sort of created this inescapable sort of like pressure, on everybody. But Pluto Scorpio seems to have been kind of like a, this pressure point release valve for the expression of things that a lot of the previous generations didn't really want to acknowledge, and as a Pluto Libra born to Pluto Leo, like parents, I definitely see that. Like that generation just seems like they, stuck their head in the sand, and they don't want to take responsibility for certain things. And of course, every generation has its challenges and its hardships and such, but I think that they were in a prime position to make a difference for the better, and a lot of them just copped out. Like that's, how it feels to me. So,
It is the
in my own,
cop out.
it certainly feels that way,
It's
so
a choice.
it is, and I think that's, what I really appreciate about this last interaction you had with, I think it was Marie, was that, ultimately, I think for me personally, that is what I've come to accept in the last few years, is that this really is about free will. Like we as empaths, we can have a heart, and we can love, and we can want the world to be all loving and all forgiving and all giving and all altruistic, but it ultimately, we can't create that with others who don't share that those aims, and so again, it's great that you're doing this, because I think that we need more and more and more spaces for people who do feel this way, to come together and figure out solutions. I mean, I really do see this as a sort of like prayer or meditative kind of gathering, a communing, whatever a person wants to think of it, so it's really positive. very positive and, very much an alchemical kind of uh, uh, process that you're initiating and catalyzing. Um, as far as dealing with the betrayals, I can tell you in regard to my parents, it's been from all sides, to be honest. It's been from so-called friends. It's been from, partners. It's been from, every which possible angle. I was in the entertainment industry. That was, had its own, you're always a target to someone in those circumstances or in that industry, whatever, that world. And ultimately the again, the kind of simple solution, the not so simple solution was to just remove yourself, like remove myself. I just feel like that's the rule for me now. If I don't feel like I'm in an environment where I can be honest with myself and feel heard or feel seen or feel acknowledged or feel, met on any level, why am I even there? Why am I engaging? Who is this person? And it doesn't matter if the person is blood or, not blood. It makes absolutely no difference at this point, because again, it comes down to what you said, which is free will, like what this last conversation was really highlighting between you and Maria. It's just that free will. Everybody has their own choice. Everybody has their own path. And so, yeah, that's it. Exactly. They if they don't want to be a part of the solution, they're a part of the problem. And so I will move on. And if I don't feel I can be in a circumstance or in a dynamic where we are finding solutions together, then it is best for me to be alone and sort out for myself what I need to sort out.
Yes.
You know,
People really don't get that one. So let's stress that. And first of all, that was such a kind, thoughtful, useful, valuable response. And you had some really nice compliments in the chat that I hope that you see. Thank you very much. And yeah, there's some really important points here, which I totally spaced. Do you remember what the last thing you said was? This is my brain all the time.
Yeah. The last thing was just removing oneself. Like
There you
again,
go.
just
Thank you.
basically honoring everyone's free will and our own free will choice to move away if the situation calls for it.
Exactly. This is something that is so unaccepted in our world and culture. That person is alone. They're a social failure. That's what happened this last year. I was encouraging, cut these cords with these really abusive people. I'm cutting all these cords and I feel better and better and better. And it was a choice. They said, no, you're the devil. You're a family destroyer. You're a relationship destroyer. You're a friend destroyer. None of those people had any respect towards me whatsoever. And this person who I was defending by saying you should cut the people who have no respect for you out of your life turned me into that. Because that's the easy way out. And I've experienced that a handful of times, probably more than one hand. And it is going to be a part of the book that I write as what the codependent, cowardly crew will do. Oh, someone's encouraging me to fight for myself and to be autonomous. Well, they're a bad boy, so I'll do just that to them. I'm not the one who abused you your entire life. The person who abused you your entire life, you're going to continue to worship as a dictator. Okay, have fun with that. You go away. Yeah. One of the most important points is what was just shared. And it's, again, what the hidden blessing is in going through a harsh betrayal, which is a process for any of us, especially if it's heartbreaking. It unifies the soul with God. We get such an intimate relationship with God on our own, and we particularly see that with very advanced souls, such as Jeffrey Green. You don't need all of this shit. We need people that are inspiring. Only allow inspiring souls into your life. People on your own wavelength, fine. But if it is a charity case, they need to pay you money. They're not your friend. And I can tell you that from plenty of experiences. So God alone, infinitely superior than selling out or conforming to whatever people want to hear on the radio, for lack of a better term. Really, really important point. Really, really appreciate your share. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure, and likewise. Thank you.
I believe there's one more person here, perhaps Brooke, and anyone else who would like to talk or share a bit. Feel free to post in the chat. We're about 2.5 hours. It's half an hour to 10, so I'm definitely starting to wind down. And this has been very supportive. I hope, again, that's been a full circle experience, because this isn't stuff that's not talked about enough. Yeah, we have the professional YouTube psychologists talking about it. Even that, it could be improved. This needs to be like, hey, this is the stuff we're talking about because it's affecting all of us right now, and instead we're turning the other way. That's exactly the problem. Don't look the other way. Don't ignore the bull in the room. It's a part of the narcissist's supernatural powers, and if you haven't met an actual narcissist, you have no idea what those supernatural powers are. You very well could be completely controlled by them like a marionette on strings. I've tried to separate so many people, and they go right on back and demonize me. And it's sad what happens. It's really, really bad. There's a 10-second glow up in this pretend everything's great because we're the good guys and we eliminated the evil guy. So there's this temporary glow up that exists in what? A delusion. And then reality comes out the next day. We're seeing that this year. We're seeing the people do the land grabs, the power grabs, the trying to merge, the soul destiny siphoning. And it's unconscious. People don't know they're doing it. That doesn't mean you're innocent. That's why people are afraid to die. You're going to meet your unconscious. Why don't you start aiming towards your unconscious and working on that stuff now? EA is your best friend if that's your orientation. Okay. I think we're getting to a good place to wrap up here. We've got some very, very, very good, useful information, both from the chat and those who are here. Again, I don't want to, everyone who is here, I don't know if I heard from Brooke. If you wanted to share, Brooke, you're welcome to. And again, there is no pressure. I just can't leave people out. My goodness. How could I do such a thing?
Hey there.
Hey, Brooke. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you, but no pressure at all.
Yeah, that's kind of how I roll. So, for me, pretty much I dealt with a lot of betrayal throughout my life. But I think I'm not alone in that. Narcissist or non-narcissist people tend to have the ability to betray each other in these ways, throughout history.
The world is horrific. People don't know it because as a psychologist, people reveal what the truth is. People accuse Jeffrey Green, why are you so obsessed with talking about sex abuse in a time when no one was addressing it? People have no idea how prevalent that is. So sorry to cut you off, but yeah.
No, you're not cutting me off. This is your show. It's fine. Yeah, it's like, but to stay on topic, it's I really realized and discovered what kind of a codependent journey I was on and what narcissism was about a year ago. And I started to really deeply research it when I came into a close relationship with someone who started to display some of those traits. And I would say it's not that bad, the type of narcissism that they have, because ultimately I always come back around to I'm able to come back around to myself. Like I said in the chat on YouTube a while ago, I did a 3,000 kilometer trek in the Himalayas when I was 33. And I did that trek because I had been traveling back and forth from India to the USA pretty much every year since 2013. And I was just feeling tired of the projections on me from society of who they thought I was and the very shallow way that they saw me. And I wanted to find myself and find God, and I did. It was a trek into the unknown. It wasn't planned. I didn't have money. And it was the best experience of my life. And I think Marie said this earlier, it just made me very grounded and rooted in myself. And the more anchored and rooted you are in yourself, it's very true, the less you will take on narcissistic traits, display narcissistic traits, or be affected by those who have them. And I think that's what it comes down to. They call it in integral yoga your vyapti. You need to own that creative life force energy and make the life that you want consistently. It's a consistent effort to be a fully embodied, mindful, thriving, living, unique version of yourself. We're all unique. And I think where this interesting entangled dance of narcissism happens is when you get essentially two weak characters. And so I think Marie said it, when you finally own your own power, I wouldn't even say it's about revenge when you start making money. You're just finally owning yourself and owning your own power and acknowledging that
Liberation.
you
Freedom.
liberation, yeah, freedom, and you don't need to be that codependent anymore, be codependent on anyone else. And I honestly think in my life, I've gone through phases of that, especially with the economy and all these things outside of us, with the government, everything that's going on. I've gone through phases of codependency. I was the first YouTuber to get a mainstream media deal back in 2006. And I had nobody to follow as an example. I was going completely into the unknown. I left college to do that. And that was one of my first ups and downs. I could have made a ton of money. I didn't make a ton of money. I encountered a ton of narcissists that I didn't know were narcissists at that time. But I was just living my life and just trying to be the best, most, the best version of me, you know, um, trying to express my will and know myself. So I could go on and on and on, but trying to err on the more positive side of it. Yeah, basically. Yep. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Brooke. It's
Yep.
beautiful to hear this diversity of voices. I wasn't expecting so many volunteers. This is wonderful. It's the first experiment, and we're going to do more of these. Aaron, I'm not sure if we got to you yet, or we may have. I'm really bad with names. So if you could just please remind me. Did we speak already?
Yeah, we already talked. We're good.
Okay, beautiful.
I love listening to everybody. This is great. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to close the Zoom here. Thank you to our volunteers. And I'll tune back here in the chat. We're going to wrap up here. Any final comments? Let they be known in the chat. This is really, really important. This is basically what I've been saying all year. We are in a psychological crisis. We are experiencing a mental pandemic. No, it's not new. Now we are aware. Our awareness increases through contrast. The higher the contrast, the more obvious the different sides are. We got an introduction to that when Uranus goes into Gemini, and that is far from over. So this is a make it or break it. And as I've been saying, there's almost a generational divide because this is basically cutting edge psychology. And for any of you who are the survivors of narcissistic families, or you are the survivors of long-term abusive narcissistic relationships, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I have a number of resources that I'm constantly tuning into for myself because it's a lifelong thing, of course. This is what makes us who we are. That's why people are so scared to go there. They feel like going there is you're going to be a failure and everything about life is to be a perfect narcissist winner. That's what we're literally supposed to be. But if you have the humility enough to know that you're not perfect, that you have had some conditions that formed you unnaturally and you don't want to live a prison life, you don't have to. Because evolutionary astrology is here. The most powerful astrology in the last century, where people were so jealous, they took it and they named it after themselves. So that way, the founder of evolutionary astrology is not known by most even astrologers. The other evolutionary astrologer is the most renowned, and they are not the founder. They probably absorbed, stole, or took everything from Jeffrey out of jealousy. It's so much more common than people realize. This is a big revelation, big time. And I think of a lot of what was written, because this does seem like a revelation. I want to call the age of Aquarius the age of anti. I began preparing us by saying, are you familiar with Dada art? We are at a point in human consciousness where everybody's sick of knowing everything and we're going crazy. Dada art is non-art. It's anti. It's a joke unto itself. We are entering the age of anti. Beware. What it's on the cover may not only be different from what's beneath the surface, it could very well be the antithesis. So let this contrast wake us up to the difference between acting, mimicking, copying, pretending, playing around and acting roles versus going through the work of liberating yourself from whatever conditioning, whatever projections, whatever bullshit, whatever curses that were put onto you. And to me, a curse is saying something like, I don't like who you're becoming, or it's all your fault that you're a witch. Those are curses. That's black magic. I say I give people validation for my job in exchange for people's invalidation. Do you think invalidating others is helpful or harmful? Do you think there are therefore astrologers that are helpful or harmful? Beware the imposter. Beware the copycat pretender actor who clearly doesn't get it. Because it's where you go in the world of astrology or churches or temples or politics or the New Age. It is angels side by side with demons. And it is about time we start to wake up. What is the difference between good and evil? So we don't have to spend the rest of our life being manipulated, used, thrown under the bus, and put last because we're good people. The first will be made last, and the last will be made first.